Let's discuss this with Raymond Parsons. Always a pleasure speaking to him, an economist and, of course, professor at Northwest University Business School. Prof, good morning to you. All the best for 2021 as we start heading quickly into New Year's Day. I'd like to start our conversation by asking this question around the vaccine. Is the vaccine, do you think, Prof, the key to our economic recovery?
Well, good morning to you, and my best wishes to you and all your viewers. Yes, I think let me start by saying I'm sure that this year is a year we are very anxious to see behind us. And in order to go into the new year with some better news than we've had so far, obviously the two issues are, for me, vigilance and indeed vaccine. And I think apart from the short-term steps that we've had to take in order to deal with our immediate situation over this period, I think that the greatest measure of hope for the future lies in the development and access to the vaccines that have become available. And I think the important point for South Africa is that we need more certainty now to know, as we move into the new year, when will those vaccines be available, on what is the blueprint for their distribution, and to what extent can we rely on the timeline in order to get that vaccine sooner rather than later.
As far as the regulations that have been now put into place, these adjusted level 3 regulations, Professor, I can't imagine the balancing act that the National Coronavirus Command Council had to balance or had to play when making these decisions. Of course, the big one is the shutting down of alcohol, not because we all want a nice tipple on New Year's Eve, but the number of jobs at risk and the loss of income as a result of that. But the shutting down of beaches from a tourism perspective, all of this in the end, Prof, does have an economic impact as well. Do you think these regulations are well balanced, perhaps having gone too far, or do you think not enough was done? What's your thoughts on these new regulations?
I think we must understand from our experience of this year that these are tough decisions for any government to take, and we've seen this right throughout the world. Any government here is between a rock and a hard place. You have to do certain things because there are health imperatives. On the other hand, there's an understanding that there are economic and business consequences. And quite clearly, having now to deal with our second wave of the pandemic, certain urgent steps that had to be taken. The fact that they've had to be taken, we can fully grasp and share the motivation on health grounds as to why they have to be taken. But that doesn't alter what will be the consequences. And quite clearly, although this has been a selective response, it will have an impact on the hospitality, on the tourism, on the liquor industry over the next few weeks. And this, of course, we must remember, has a twofold dimension. The first is this is their peak period for trying to do well and recover some of the lost ground that has occurred during the course of this year. And secondly, many of the relief measures have now expired. So I think there may well be a case for saying that if these restrictions are going to go on beyond the 15th of January, we hope not, but if they do, then I think there's a case for having to revisit an extension of some of those relief measures that will assist these sectors who are obviously going to be very hard hit, irrespective of the health argument.
Do you think, Prof, as a final question to you, come the 15th of January, as you were just alluding to, if there's no extension of this adjusted level 3 lockdown, alcohol opens up, perhaps the beaches open up, tourism can start to get back to where it was. I'm going to even argue just a few weeks ago, even during lockdown, there was more tourism. Do you think we are going to have a better year economically next year than this year? I'm essentially asking you to pull out your well-known crystal ball for 2021.
Well, I did ask Father Christmas for a new crystal ball. He did send it, already looking a little clouded, but let me part those clouds and see what I can see. Now, we know this year has been a bad year, although in the second half of the year there's been some improvement, that we will end this year with a -7%, -8% growth rate. That's a given. There will be a bounce back, obviously. There's going to be a bounce back, even with these basic restrictions, we can look at the possibility of a rebound, and I emphasize it's only a rebound, of maybe a 3% growth rate for next year. But that, as I say, is simply trying to get back to a more normal situation. What is important now, apart from the short-term issues, are the longer-term growth plan and the fiscal plans of the new year, the state of the nation at rest, indeed the main budget. Are we able to make the structural and the other changes to support the economy, irrespective of the pandemic? We've got to look beyond the pandemic and say, over the next few years, we have to turn this economy around. It goes beyond the pandemic. It goes into to implement what we've said we will do in terms of our growth plans, in terms of our fiscal plans, so that we get the job-rich growth we want. That's the only firm security for the future. So I think whatever we do in the short term, whatever remedies we apply in the short term, we must underpin them now with a strong, what I call an implementation-led recovery in the new year.
Professor, I'm going to say thank you for looking through your cloudy crystal ball as far as 2021 is concerned. It sounds like there might at least be some good news, even better, of course, if this adjusted level 3 lockdown is lifted on the 15th of January. It's always a pleasure speaking to the good Professor Raymond Parsons at NWU Business School.